Feeling quite good today. And I find that happens quite often. And one of the things that's starting to happen more and more as well is just a bubbling of ideas within myself. Right? I was reading James Baldwin not too long ago, and he talked about that as a writer. He gets to a point where the information that he wants to pour out goes beyond himself, and he can't help himself but have a need to put it out on paper, which was his canvas. Today, our canvases are multifold, and I'm feeling that, and I've been feeling it for a while. Right? I have 2 children who are 8 and 12, and they can attest to that. Daddy has opinions on everything. And given my general world views, I feel that if I'm willing to share my information and my knowledge with those who I care the most about, and I actually do believe that we're all one, it's important that I share it with everyone. And so this is the start of that journey for myself, and I'm looking for feedback, I'm looking for dialogue, I'm looking for intersectionality, and nothing that I say is exact. It's all very subjective, and I'm looking for it to continue to evolve, and I'm hoping to do that with whoever's watching. Today, one of the things that's on my mind relates to feeding the full self, the full being. What does that mean, right? We live in a world that's hectic. There's a lot of activity, there's a lot going on, and it can be quite challenging, especially if one does not take the time to feed ourselves in our entirety, right? And to that I mean the body, the mind, the emotional well-being, the spirituality. And when I say spirituality, I mean that in the loose sense in terms of philosophy that underpins all that we do and think, right? And let's delve in a little bit more. On the spiritual component, it's important that we continue to push forward, have certain values that transcend ourselves, have certain views that we really believe in that help to connect us one to the other. Right? Because if we have a strong mind and we don't have a spiritual connection, certain views and philosophies that help to guide us, there have been many of those types of people throughout history with no points of view and no sound underpinning. And you can end up with really bad outcomes, right? Some of the most heinous people in history have had strong minds and strong everything else, but no spiritual underpinning that's connected in love. And then you take a step further and you think about the emotional acuity. For me, that's actually been one of the more challenging things over time. I think I was born very much emotionally connected, and I think most of us are. But then at some point, through the various challenges and feeling that being emotionally connected didn't necessarily serve a purpose with respect to achieving ends, I almost cut it off. I spent a good 15 to 20 years without shedding a tear and hardly feeling. And I think there's something to be said about leaning in to one's emotions and being more connected, right? So in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've really leaned into that. And I think it allows me, it allows anyone who fully appreciates their emotional acuity to better understand others, to better serve others, and in so doing, being able to serve oneself. And then of course there's the mental being, and really pushing oneself, understanding that very few things are finite, understanding the importance of curiosity and asking questions, even when it seems like one has the right answer. And especially in today's society of fake news and all the issues that we're experiencing, it begs the question of what is real, what is not, too much attention to political correctness instead of a search for truth, which only happens through inquiry and applying various things that have been developed for millennia at this point, right? Plato, Aristotle, the Socratic method, and so forth and so on. It's all there, and I think it's important that we continue. If you look at Einstein, for example, he had a pretty long life, and he worked on all types of theories, but even into the later years, which is actually not typical of mathematicians and scientists. And if you were to see where he talked about that, he said it's because he always maintained his youthful curiosity, his quest for knowledge and information, and understanding that he will always know far less about everything that he thinks he knows. And I think we can derive lessons from Albert Einstein even after his passing. And then from there's the physical being. I find that oftentimes, especially depending on which circles we're in, you'll have people who are off the charts spiritually, mentally, and even emotionally, but for whatever reason, they undervalue the physique, right? And at the end of the day, we live in a physical world. We're interacting with physical beings and physical things. And if we don't have a sound physical shell, then it's almost impossible for us to fully realize the value that we could and the potential, with all the other components. And so in that vein, it's important to have some type of a process, certain things that we do that relate to strengthening our actual core, right? I'm standing here on firm ground and it's my feet, that's physical. If I don't exercise, if I don't eat properly, if I don't do certain things, then I have trouble standing here, right? So if we don't live long enough to achieve all the potential that we could, through our mental and spiritual and emotional capabilities, then what's the point? And we're only able to do that through the physical component. So in my view, it's important that we focus on our physique because it supports the mind. It's important that we develop the mind because only through a sound mind can we actually connect emotionally with others and really feel in a truly profound manner. And then it's important that you have all those things to further inform one's spirituality and philosophical underpinnings and how we think and continue to progress in that vein. I'm going to stop there, and we'll be back next time.